to work in a garden where you see plants grow and develop and fruit come forth. It's an awesome thing. I don't care for weeding, but I'll tell you, to see those plants growing is wonderful. That's why people like gardens. Gardens are beautiful things that are good, that God called good. In fact, God himself planted a garden, the Garden of Eden, which we'll read in chapter 2. Why is that? Because to God, plants are beautiful things. He's the creator of those things. And he said they were good, and they ought to be good to us also. Enjoy the plants that God has given to us. And I think that's so very, very important. And I'm not an environmentalist. I'm not into that the great stress that they have. But I am to the point that we need to be conscious of the creation of God. And those plants that God himself has designed. God is the one who wants them here. God is the one who calls them good. But we ought to call them good also. And we ought to be conscious of their preservation. The evening and the morning were the third day. I might just share with you 3 important specifics that we see here, particularly pertaining to plant life. First of all, and if you're taking notes here, it's the first of those 3 lines that are kind of indented. Life began. Life began on the third day. Now, understand something. All of the things that are necessary for life, as we know it in a physical sense, were already present there. There was light, there was air, there was water, and there was land present so that plants can grow. Most plants aren't going to grow in water. They're just not. They need firmness, but they also need water. All of these things are now intact. There's a progression here. And then God uses the raw material of the earth to bring about these plants. He commands the earth to bring forth these plants. Why is that? Because plants are made up of the substances, the chemicals that are found in the earth. All is there. And the first form of life was a plant. Now understand something here. When we talk about life, can anybody give us a real definition of what life really is? And life is a complex thing because there's physical life, which can be divided into plant life and animal life, but then there is also spiritual life, which is something that is completely different. And even the Word of God has a kind of life, a quality of life about it. According to Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 12, that life isn't a complex thing. I looked it up in a dictionary of life. What is it? Organic vitality. A quality that distinguishes living organisms from dead or inanimate objects or matter, manifested in functions as metabolism, that's like eating and digesting, growth, reproduction, and response to stimuli. That's very technical. But life is something that's hard to define, but it's something that is there. And every living thing is made up of cells. I got this cool book, Plant Life. And I was delighted to read that the first page was not talking about like how life began, evolutionary. It just plunges right into it, talking about cells and everything. Look at this. That's an animal cell. That's a plant cell. They got some differences, but they're pretty close to the same. And every one of those cells has all sorts of things inside of them, and every one of those things has to be intact in order for something to have life. And then God is the one who's got to give it life and make all of those things that are there actually alive. And so life is a very, very complex thing that is dependent upon an arrangement of very, very specific things, and yet it has a quality that only God can give, and God is the maker of those things. It is interesting that life did not begin as the people of the world will say, like it started when lightning struck a pool of slimy water. Nope, that's not